Hello class, story time today is from my bedroom, so I hope you don't mind a bit of the mess. So we are carrying on with Roald Dahl's The Minpins story. We just got to the part where Billy had escaped up the tree and now he was in a safe place, so let's see what happens next. Then something very peculiar happened. There was a huge smooth branch very close to where little Billy was sitting, and he suddenly noticed that a small square patch of bark on this branch was beginning to move. It was a very small patch, about the size of a postage stamp, and the two sides of it seemed to be splitting down the middle and opening slowly outwards like a pair of shutters on some tiny window. Little Billy sat staring at this extraordinary thing, and all at once a strange uncomfortable feeling came over him. It felt as though the tree he was sitting in and the green leaves all around him belonged to another world altogether, and that he was a trespasser who had no right to be where he was. He watched intently as the tiny shutters of tree bark opened wider and wider, and when they were fully open, they revealed a small squarish window set neatly in the curve of the big branch. There was some sort of a yellowish glow coming from deep inside the window. The very next thing little Billy saw was a tiny face at the window. It had appeared suddenly from nowhere, and it was the face of an extremely old man with white hair. Little Billy could see this clearly, despite the fact that the whole of the tiny man's head was no larger than a pea. This ancient miniature face was staring straight at little Billy with a most severe expression on it. The skin on the face was deeply wrinkled all over, but the eyes were as bright as two stars. Let's have a look at that picture. So you can see the window and the old man looking through. We know he's old because he's got those wrinkles. When you get older, you get wrinkles. Now something even more peculiar began to happen all around him, not only on the huge main trunk of the tree, but also on all the big branches that grew out of it. Other tiny windows were opening, and tiny faces were peering out. Some of these faces belonged to men, and others were clearly women. Here and there, the head of a child was seen peering over a windowsill. The heads of these children were no larger than the heads of matchsticks. In the end, there must have been more than 20 small windows all around where little Billy was sitting, and from each window these amazing little faces were peering out. No sound came from any of the watchers. The faces were silent, unmoving, almost ghost-like. Now the tiny old man in the window nearest to Billy seemed to be saying something, but his voice was so soft and whispery, little Billy had to lean right up close to catch his words. "You're in a bit of a twizzler, aren't you?" the voice was saying. "You can't go down again, because if you do, you'll be guzzled up at once. But you can't possibly sit up here forever either." I know, little Billy gasped. "Don't shout," the tiny man said. "I'm not shouting," little Billy said. "Talk softer," the tiny man said. "If you talk too loud, your voice will blow me away." But who are you?" little Billy asked, taking care to speak very softly this time. "We are the Minpins," the tiny man said, "and we own this wood. I shall come closer, then you will hear me better." The old Minpin climbed out of his window and walked straight down the big steeply sloping branch, then up another branch until he found a place only a few inches from little Billy's face. So you can see in the pictures here, the little tiny people, and we now know are called the Minpins, and they own the woods. It was amazing to see him walking up and down these almost vertical branches without the slightest trouble. It was like seeing someone walking up and down a wall. "How on earth do you do that?" little Billy asked. "Suction boots," the Minpin said. "We all wear them. You can't live in trees without suction boots." On his feet he was wearing tiny green boots, rather like miniature wellies. His clothes were curiously old-fashioned, mostly brown and black, the sort of thing people wore 200 or 300 years ago. Suddenly, all of the other Minpins, men, women and children, were climbing out of their windows and making their way towards little Billy. Their suction boots seemed to allow them to walk up and down the steepest branches with the greatest ease, and some were even walking upside down underneath the branches. All of them were wearing these old-fashioned clothes from hundreds of years ago, and several had on very peculiar hats and bonnets. They stood or sat in groups on all the branches around little Billy, staring at him as though he was someone from outer space. "But Do all of you actually live inside this tree? Little Billy asked. The old Minpin said, all the trees in this forest are hollow. Not just this one, but all of them. And inside them, thousands and thousands of Minpins are living. These great trees are filled with rooms and staircases, not just in the big main trunk, but in most of the other branches as well. This is a Minpin forest, and it's not the only one in England. Could I peep inside? Little Billy said. Of course, the old Minpin said. Put your eye close to that window. He pointed to the one he'd just come out of. Oh, let's have a look at that picture. So you can see how giant Billy looks, who's just a child, in comparison to the Minpin's small window and the old Minpin. And he's looking inside, and have a little look at which room you think that is and think why. So I might say, I think that might be a bedroom, because I think this is part of a bed. And we've got a chair. And we've got what looks like a chest of drawers. And I've got one of these in my bedroom. So I reckon he's looking into a bedroom right there. Little Billy shifted his position and placed one eye right up against the square hole that was no bigger than a postage stamp. What he now saw was quite marvellous. He saw a room that was lit by a pale yellow light of some sort, and it was furnished with beautifully made miniature chairs and a table. To one side was a 4-poster bed. So that's this bit here. So these posts, there would have been 4 on each of the corners. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we know that it's his bedroom. It was like one of the rooms Little Billy had once seen in the Queen's doll's house at Windsor Castle. It's beautiful, Little Billy said. Are they all as lovely as this one? Most are smaller, the old Minpin said. This one is very grand because I am the ruler of this tree. My name is Don Minnie. What is yours? Mine is Little Billy, Little Billy said. Greetings, Little Billy, Don Minnie said. You are welcome to look into some of the other rooms if you wish. We are very proud of them. All the other Minpin families wanted to show Little Billy their own rooms. They rushed about along the branches calling out, "Come and see mine! Please come and see mine!" Little Billy began climbing about and peeping into the tiny windows. Through one window he saw a bathroom, just like his own at home, only 1,000 times smaller. And through another he saw a classroom with lots of tiny desks and a blackboard at one end. In every room there was a stairway in one corner leading up to the room above. As Little Billy went from window to window, the Minpins followed him, clustering round, smiling at his exclamations of wonder. They're all absolutely marvellous, he said. They're much nicer than our rooms at home. Let's have a look at those pictures. So you can see the bathroom here. So you can see it's got a bath and it's got a sink. And then you can see the classroom, which is very different to our classroom. It's even got a blackboard. I hope you enjoyed listening to me read that next part of the Minpins, and we're going to read some more tomorrow. Bye!